What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome into the Mayo Media Network. This is Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets presented by Prize Picks. I am Chris Meaney. Thanks as always for taking the time to hang out. If you're just new to the Mayo Media Network, please like, rate, review, subscribe, leave a comment. Maybe it's a question about tonight's games, a favorite DFS play, or a season-long question. I will circle back before puck drop. So thanks for taking the time to hang out. 5 games. I got a fantastic guest, Nick Alberga from the Fan 590, joining me. 5 games on the ice tonight, so we're going to break it all down, give some picks, some props, some DFS plays as well. But it is time for the Prize Picks play of the day. Connor McDavid staring at me 5.1. Guys, I usually don't like to take this guy because he is the best player in the world, but he's usually at 5.6 on Prize Picks. So first of all, you got to follow the link in the description. You get that promo code and they'll match your deposit, 100% match deposit. And then you start with McDavid and you take the over at 5.1. Not breaking any news here. Connor McDavid, really good. The Ottawa Senators, competitive, but not the best hockey team. And listen, we talked on Monday when Eric Young joined us. We said the Oilers loaded up their lines. They were looking for a goal late. They had Draisaitl, Yamamoto together with McDavid. It worked. Yamamoto scored a goal. They kept them together in the last game, and at 5-on-5 against the Sens, my goodness, they just had their way with Ottawa. 30-14 the shot attempts, 15-7 the shots, 13-7 the scoring chances, 8-3 high danger chances. That's just 5-on-5, let alone power play time that these guys are going to get against the Sens. So McDavid had the 2 assists, 5 shots, easily got the over there. He's got 5 points and 10 shots in his last 2 games and 10 points in 5 games against the Sens. Draisaitl sitting there at 4.4 as well. Ottawa has allowed the most shots at 5-on-5 per 60 minutes, according to Natural Stat Trick. The 3rd most shots, the most shot attempts, and the 3rd most shots, the 5th most scoring chances, and the 8th most high danger chances. What has that resulted in? The most goals allowed at 5-on-5 per 60 minutes. So take those guys and don't even think twice. Mikko Rantanen's at 4 and Dustin Brown's at 3.1. Like those guys as well. But I wanted to give some love to Rickard Rakell. I feel like it was a little bit of love on Monday, but not enough from what this guy is doing. He enters tonight's game on a 6-game point streak, 5 goals and 12 points over that span. Back-to-back games with 3 points. He's got 4 multi-point showings over this run as well. We just need an assist. You get 2 points for an assist, half a point for a shot, 3 for a goal. At 3.1 against the Kings, he really just needs an assist because he's got this baked-in floor, what he's doing lately, 22 shots over his past 6 games. Check out prizepicks.com. You can mix and match through all the sports that you love. And with that out of the way, let's bring in Nick Alberga at the Golden Muzzy from the Fan 590, Toronto Maple Leafs radio host and NHL host at the Fan 590. Nick, man, I'm super jazzed to talk to you. We've been just chatting back and forth, on Twitter, and I know you're a big hockey guy. So, a lot of people out there looking for a hockey follow. Nick is a fantastic one. So just, thanks for joining me and, finally being able to talk hockey to you. I'm pumped up, man. Welcome.
It is a pleasure, my man. Thanks so much for having me on. And I had to look outside to see if the sky was falling because the Leafs have lost 3 in a row in regulation here.
What is going on? I said I said to Maddie, who's running the show for us, and Eric Young, who is here, who follows the Leafs pretty closely. I said maybe it's the start of a little bit of a slide, but finally facing adversity for the first time. What did you make of last night's loss to the Jets?
I love this season, right? Because it's like so peculiar and odd that it was 9 of 23 of the next 23 against the Winnipeg Jets. Like, what is that? And I actually took some heat on Twitter, which is not surprising last night because on my broadcast, I just said Toronto was bored, right? Like, you play the same teams all the time. You build up a cushion in the standings. And that's the way I view it. I know they lost a couple games to Vancouver. No Elias Pettersson. I thought it was 2 gutsy efforts by the Vancouver Canucks. But I think you look at last night, Winnipeg was a team coming off a disappointing and embarrassing loss to the Montreal Canadiens. I thought Connor Hellebuck was outstanding last night. 36 saves. The top 6 really grinded it out, and they found a way again. But there's just so much left between these 2 teams. They're back at it Thursday night, back at it Saturday night, and it continues as we move forward in this season. So I just chalk it up as 1 loss for the Maple Leafs, and I think they'll figure it out here.
What do you chalk it up as, Matty Bess? Same sort of deal?
Same sort of deal. I think Nick said it perfectly with they just look bored. A lot of them look uninspired except for Zach Hyman, which, I mean, if Zach Hyman ever looks bored, then there's a big problem. But the whole team just was lackadaisical. like zoning out basically for the whole game. And it's not like we're making excuses. I think a lot of teams, you're seeing this year as well. The Avalanche look bored half the time this year. I think that goes towards their spot in the standings. You'll see this a lot more, but when it comes to crunch time, the teams that are trying to fight for a playoff spot, they ain't too bored.
No, they're not. Nick, I know it's tough. I mean, even the all 5 games tonight, it's a rematch, right? They all played
Yeah.
each other the other night, and you're breaking down all these games and they're playing. I mean, we have some data. They're playing each other. Teams are making adjustments. I suppose it will get a little bit more exciting when we get closer to the playoffs. For example, if Vancouver can beat Montreal again tonight, I know they're kind of out of it, but if they can go on a run and the Habs struggle and the Flames can't find their stride as well, down the stretch when these two teams play each other, I think they have a handful of games in the final 2 weeks that could make for competitive hockey. I mean, I think you were alluding to it earlier in the year, but we had a 7-game series this season between St. Louis and Arizona. It wasn't all that entertaining, but if it's near the end of the season and, they're fighting for a playoff spot, I'm sure it'll be, competitive at least.
Yeah, we hope. We hope. And Arizona, I believe, took Game 7 in
That's
that
right.
illustrious series. But that's my fascination, and it's sort of weird to quantify gambling in this season. But I've actually had more success than usual, which is hilarious to say because that's all I do is eat, sleep, and watch hockey, and I still lose all the time. But this year, it seems to be the opposite, where I'm sort of gaining some ground, if you want to call it that, this season. I think it's more so the response level, right? Like you see a
Mhm.
team lose. For example, and we'll talk about it, but Vegas loses the other night. We don't know what's up with Mark Stone, Alex Petrangelo. I think that adds some value, heightened value to the Minnesota Wild, but sort of the bounce back effect. Like I'm hammering Colorado tonight. Nathan McKinnon's back in the lineup. I just think there's a lot more value to be found in bounce back efforts, especially for teams we know are upper echelon teams, Chris, and we know they're going to find ways to win hockey games. I view it that way at least.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And when Cam Stewart Jones is on Friday, he says the same thing. He's like,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm going back to him. And you can kind of take that philosophy in DFS too. And I gave a bad call on Saturday for FTN subscribers. I said Connor Hellebuck against the Habs, probably going to face 30 plus shots. And the dude got yanked. It's funny. There was no basketball at all for the weekend. And we had, our sharp NBA minds wanting to play NHL
Yeah.
DFS for the first time. And here was my shot to sell them on DFS hockey. And I'm like, yes, Connor Hellebuck. And they're like, aren't you a Canadians fan? Why didn't you just tell me to play Montreal? I'm like, Hellebuck, he gets yanked. And then I was telling everybody at FTN yesterday, don't be afraid to go back. Like, it's
Mhm.
okay. Recency bias is a thing. Connor Hellebuck, he's basically boomer bust in DFS. I mean, he could get lit up like that. The Jets give up a ton of quality chances,
They do.
or he can just make 36 saves like he did last night and get the save bonus. And people are, you're crazy. I'm not going to Hellebuck. But as you talked about earlier, he was really good last night. So let's get into the games. Let's start with Minnesota and Vegas, like you mentioned. Last week, Vegas, they took the 2 games. One was a comeback. I believe they won in overtime. Mark Stone had that phenomenal game, and then they won the next game. And then the other night, it was 2-0. You're right. There was no Stone. There was no Petrangelo. Batty. That's why we were getting Vegas at PointsBet plus money because of those guys. They tricked me. They're both game time decisions. Last time I saw, Stone is just fresh off being named first star of last week, too. So we have Vegas minus 105, 12-11 against the spread. The total here is 5.5. Minnesota 14-1. This is a fun team to watch. Vegas minus 110, 10-12 against the spread, 16, 5-1 as well. So it was a 2-0 shutout victory. Capo Kakinen, he has been great, a 924 save percentage. I think they go back to him, but they've been going back and forth between him and Cam Talbot, so I'm not sure there. What do you make of this game? Is this like a wait and see approach? Is Petrangelo and Stone going to get back into the lineup? You're talking about a team bouncing back. Is this the case here with Vegas? What's your initial thoughts?
Yeah, that's a difficult one, right? Because they've been winning so many games to start this season. You start to wonder if they come back to reality just a tad. And I think you take those two guys out of the lineup, it's certainly not the same Vegas team, especially Mark Stone, who I think maybe there's the East Coast bias, but nobody's really watching him, and maybe they are. But he's got to be in the heart conversation. I know there's some big guns on Vegas, but I think he's been outstanding. And sadly, it deteriorates the value from a DFS standpoint of like a Max Pacioretty, who's had a pretty solid last week. I still like some value, underlying value in Chandler Stevenson, who will be on that top line. I think you look at Alex Tuck, who's got 5 goals in the last 5 games. So I'm leaning Vegas in this game because I think there's an element of response. Maybe they don't win the game, but I think they obviously keep it close. And Riley Smith is another guy. I know you guys have touched on this throughout this season where you're just still you're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for this guy to come back after last season, put up those great numbers with Vegas, and it just hasn't happened. I'm inclined to think at some point in time it'll happen here on this file. So maybe I'm buying on some Riley Smith tonight as well.
I love the Riley Smith call. Yeah, heading into last weekend, he had the career low shooting percentage. I know he has 5 goals. 2 of them come over his past 3 games. The Sharks, they'll bring out the best in other people for sure.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's, this, Maddie knows this, people watching, we've said this a couple times. Once you get one, you start to feel a little bit lighter. Mika Zibanejad had one the other day. He didn't score last night, but he was shooting the puck. His shot prop was at 2.5. And, he cleared it pretty easily at midway point through the game. So, Riley Smith, 5 shots in his last 2 games. The ice time has been there. That line has looked a little bit better. I know they had the one moment where they shuffled everybody up and they really just split everyone up. But then I kind of woke up William Karlsson, and I'm waiting for Marchessault as well. But that trio with Riley Smith back together, we know how good they were a few years ago. I'm with you. I think we'll see a bounce back here. I think we'll see Vegas's best effort. What do you make of the Wild, though, since we're talking about them? They look really promising.
They do, but it's just such a curious situation. Like you look at last year, they fired Bruce Boudreau, and it's like we forget that they were actually on a heater when they fired Bruce Boudreau, and it's more so they didn't have him in their plans, and Bill Guerin wanted his guy, and Dean Evison comes in, and they've been pretty lights out. I think 22-12-1 in those 35 regular season games under Dean Evison, who's now the official head coach for that team. But it always helps when you bring in like a lottery pick, right? Kirill Kaprizov is an elite player and will be an elite player down the road in this league already, at least in my opinion. And if Matt Zuccarello's had a bounce back the last little while, coming back, a late start to his season, Jordan Greenway, Marcus Foligno here, like there's a lot of guys nobody knows about or talks much about, but they're having a breakout season. And also in between the pipes, like I like what they've solidified there. Sort of felt bad for Alex Stalock coming off a really, really good season, but no place for him. Ends up on waivers now with the Edmonton Oilers in quarantine, and maybe he stays there because who wants to play for the Oilers? But Capo Kakinen's a nice story. I was in the small minority in the hockey community going nuts in the offseason, wondering why they signed Cam Talbot, because I watched enough of Capo Kakinen to tell you the guy was a legit goalie. And, well, he's backed it up so far this year in a rookie season. He's one of the rookies nobody really talks about, but I think he's been incredible. And I don't know where you guys laid on it to start the year. I had Minnesota as the number 4 team making the playoffs in that division, so they're pretty much on par with my prognostications.
Yeah, it's a good call by you, both with the goaltending and with the Wild. Yeah, we're in on the Wild too. And that's just going to be, it's going to be great come playoff time with those 4 teams, right? Assuming the Blues get in, and we got the Avs and Vegas in there too. So that should be phenomenal playoff hockey. We'll watch that. Yeah, Stone's got 10 points over a 4-game run. So it is key. I'm just going to go back to the same thing. I know it didn't work out Monday, but anytime we can get Vegas at these odds, like I do have respect for this Wild team. But this is, in my opinion, I think Vegas is, they're just so complete. And what we're getting from Fleury, to think we wouldn't get this if Robin Lehner, like no disrespect to Lehner, but I mean, it would, I don't know if they'd still be going game by game, but Fleury has just been phenomenal and so fun to watch. Max Pacioretty is at 3.5, the shot prop minus 162. He's had at least 5 shots in 6 straight games. We know this. He's up to 100 now. He's a volume shooter, a little bit of a puck hog. We joke here on the show that that's what he is. But hey, if we're going to get the 3.5,
Matt, like a Habs fan.
Yeah, I am not bitter at all losing him. I do like Nick Suzuki. But yes, Matt's Zuccarello is at 1.5 at plus 100 again today.
I don't understand it. If you didn't bring it up, I was going to just stop the show and be like, listen. We need to talk about Zook at plus 100. It's tough. If you're on a certain book or certain books and you can only choose between Zuccarello and Pacioretty in your shot prop parlay, which guy do you go with here, Means? I think you have to go Zuccarello. I know Patches is the safe play, but plus 100 for just 1.5, like I'm all on that.
You got to do it. Yeah, it's obviously the better odds. 2 is a point of 4, and most books too, like FanDuel. I know we have the free prop shop over at ftmbets.com where you can get the best possible odds. All you have to do is type in Max Pacioretty and it'll give you the best. But most books are going 4, so you're asking for 5 for Pacioretty, and that's a lot to ask for, even though he has had 5 quite often this year. But just for 2 for Zook, I mean, he's done it 4 straight games, 6 of 8. I got to go back, man. And, one of these times the run's going to end, but the fact that he's just 2 here at plus money, I think we got to do it. Let's move over to Ottawa and Edmonton. These 2 teams played the other night. It was a 3-2 victory for the Oilers. I know we we're kind of all over the Sens here a little bit. Eric Young, he wasn't joking, but he jokes when he brings it up that he's a psycho and he put all of his money on the Sens to win the cup. He's like, why not? Good odds. They're competitive.
That doesn't sound right. No,
that doesn't sound right. But he almost had them the other night. He actually called a bunch of upsets. He had Arizona, he had Vancouver, and then I think he had Ottawa on the puck line. So he got that one. But the Oilers are heavy favorites here tonight, minus 240, 16-11 on the season. Sens plus 200. I mean, I'm never going to tell anyone to spend their hard earning money on Ottawa to go into Edmonton, but I just want to get your thoughts on the Oilers. And I don't know what Eric always says, like they didn't do much to improve their defense, nothing in goal. Is this team good enough to beat the Leafs in the playoffs or beat the Jets?
It's tough. It's tough to answer that because they have the two ultimate X factors, right?
Sure.
Like Connor McDavid's so good at hockey. There's nobody even in his world on his planet. Leon Draisaitl's a close second. I think those two alone are so exceptional that they can carry a team. Now, I think there's a lot of flaws with this Edmonton team. He started the back end, missing Oscar Klefbom throughout this season. I think it's been tough. Darnell Nurse has had a fantastic season. Tyson Berry offensively has been excellent for this team. Goaltending, I got some major league questions. I don't think it's Alex Stalock, who I referenced earlier on, is in quarantine right now. It sure ain't Mike Smith. I know he's had a hot start, but he's going to taper off. Mikko Koskinen too. So unless they address their goaltending situation, I can't view the Oilers as a legitimate contender. But in that conversation too, I guess you can think about it because of McDavid and Draisaitl, and they've shown so many times where they just can carry this team. But I don't know. In the grand scheme, I can't view them as legit just because of there's so many flaws in this roster, guys.
There are. What do you think? They definitely need a goalie.
Yeah.
Who do you think? I mean, I'm putting on your spot here, but
It's fine.
Who do you think they need? Like who's going to be on their target for the next couple of years to just grab a goalie? Like I think they have to address it next season, especially if they get bounced early, right?
Oh, for sure. You would think. And they tried last offseason. I know they were in on Thomas Greiss, ends up with Detroit. Obviously, they were in on Markstrom, who went to the Calgary Flames. Like it just hasn't worked out. And I think the biggest thing you can have in this era of hockey is cap space, which they'll start to get beginning this season. Ryan Nugent Hopkins off the books. I wonder if those two sides come to an agreement or maybe they let him walk and they go elsewhere and reallocate those dollars, because I think you're right. And the key here is to, I think the biggest key, and Ken Holland's a legend and a Hall of Famer, reallocating that money in that cap, but to find a way to bring in a goalie who doesn't make a lot of money, I think will be the key here, and using sort of your assets to do so, especially again, when you're paying McDavid and Draisaitl the money you're going to have to be smart. And if you can find value goaltending wise, you can find value throughout your roster. It just helps slot everything a bit better. So ultimately, right away, I think I look at Columbus. Not to mention, right, the expansion draft with Seattle is coming, so teams are going to have to make some hard decisions. And I think if I'm Ken Holland, I can capitalize on those situations. If you catch my drift, I think Elvis Merzlikins, come to mind, makes a lot of sense for this team. Maybe it's Corpusalo, but a guy like that who doesn't make $6, $7, $8 million per season, if that makes sense.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think I saw your colleague Elliot Friedman write that recently as well.
Yeah.
Like that's one that really does make a lot of sense, because they do need to figure it out. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a lot of props here, guys, for shot props. I mean, McDavid's always juiced up, and 3.5 is tough, even though I said off the top he's had a lot of success against the Senators. Even for a 2-point game is minus 125. A 2-point game for Draisaitl's plus 100. I don't hate it if you want to take some shots. We were on Monday, Yamamoto, for a first time or anytime. He got the anytime. He didn't get the first time. First time's tough. We always tell people, small units if you want to get involved that way. But Yamamoto, a couple goals here now over the past couple of games is interesting spot for him. But there's no real shot props that stand out to me. Maybe Stützle, he's usually plus money, but check your book to see if he's out there. Brady Tkachuk is minus 106, 3.5. It's not bad. Big volume shooter, leading everybody in shots at 5-5. LA, Anaheim in here next. The Ducks, home dogs, plus 108, 18-8 against the spread, 8-12-6. LA minus 125, 18-6 against the spread, 10-8-6. The total is 5.5. Man, this was an entertaining game the other night, right? 6-5 OT win. Oof.
Ricky Raquel, you talked about him off the top, right? Like he's a guy I've been, pumping as well for the last little while. A 6-game point streak, 5 goals, 7 assists, 12 points, plus 6. I think you find him a good value in in DraftKings right now. Adam Henrique. That was the best thing about that game is it was entertaining, right? And there was a lot of offense. Normally in the last decade, it's been really low scoring, especially with Jonathan Quick there, especially with John Gibson. You're not getting much. And I'm just happy for Anaheim, guys. They've scored 11 goals in the last 2 games, pretty much matching their output for the entire season before that. And I don't know about you, how you feel about Trevor Zegras, but I think he's due for one of those breakout games. I thought that was a phenomenal pass to Henrique on the game-winning goal the other night. So at $3,100 in DraftKings right now, I might be all over that tonight.
Yeah, I think this is a great call. I actually have him written down, $3,100. Yeah, I've been going back to him because I feel the breakout is there as well. He opened up min-price, 2,500. But yeah, I mean, the shootout winner was nice. The lacrosse attempt behind the net, it just shows like his skill. If anyone saw him World Juniors, it was on full display. He was lights out. He
Pretty
was
good.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. And he's going to be real good in the show too. So it's only a matter of time. Do you think we can take the over here, 5.5? I mean, there's a lot of just hot players on both of these teams. You mentioned Raquel. Dustin Brown is a shot prop king. We keep going. He's minus 118, 2.5. He's hit it in 7 straight games. He had 8 shots the other night. Kopitar, Kempe had the big night. I don't know, man. 5.5. I'm kind of feeling like maybe the over here.
Yeah, like you start to get horny about it for sure, for a lack of a better word. I just feel teased. Like that first game the other day, you're like, wow, every shot's going in. Drew Doughty scoring goals that don't count. Then he comes back and gets another point on the next, attempt like a minute later. I just wonder if it hits the under tonight because these teams zone it back in. I know LA struggled the last little while after that hot streak where everybody thought they were winning the Stanley Cup and they forgot this is a weird season and there's going to be ups and downs. And I think Anaheim's attention to detail defensively will be better. So I'm with you. Like you think about the over, but I wonder if it goes back to the under tonight.
It's almost like the same thing we're talking about. A team loses and then it's the total too, right? Tighten up, make some adjustments. Yeah, I think you're onto something there. Maybe it'll stay away. Colorado and Arizona in here next. Talking about heavy favorites. The Avs minus 210, and that could get up to 230 once people hear that McKinnon is back, and he is back for sure. 7-16 against the spread, 12-13 against the spread for the Coyotes, plus 175. The total here 5.5. You said it earlier. I am 100% on the same page as you. Colorado they've been a little underwhelming, right? Just expectations are high. I'm looking this morning. They're still, they're not cup favorites, but they're right there. We got Tampa plus 600, Leafs 650, and the Avs 800. The Golden Knights 800 as well. Carolina is an interesting one, 11-1. They were 14-1 just a couple days ago. But yeah, Colorado. I mean, it's been the injuries, right? 2 years in a row. Cale Makar out of the lineup and Landeskog out of the lineup, and guys are not staying healthy on this team. They haven't been able to really fully hit their stride, but I think we'll see it tonight, Nick.
Yeah, the freakout starts to be beginning right in Denver. I'm not buying it because I think you look at previous Cup winners, it's just all about getting hot at the right time. I think Tampa is a perfect indication of that. Their first 2 months, as you say, last year were a massive struggle. Then Vasilevsky got cooking, and the rest was history for that team. So I'm with you tonight on Colorado. I think McKinnon's a little peeved, if you know what I'm saying, following that hit from Bletchfield last week, the suspension that came with it, and I think he's going to rip it up tonight. Philip Grubauer on a bounce back too, and not to mention that Darcy Kemper is hurt, so Antti Raanta, Mr. Inconsistent, will start tonight here in a contract year. I'm at a point where I feel bad for Arizona because their goalies can't stay healthy. Aiden Hill, the guy's always playing games because, lucky guy's getting some playing time. But it seems like one or both of Darcy Kemper and Antti Raanta are hurt on a weekly basis, man. It's nuts.
It is nuts. Yeah, it's been going on for quite some time. And Arizona, I know it's a small sample size and it all depends on who you play. But over the last 2 weeks, I mean, the top 5 in high danger chances allowed and scoring chances allowed. So it's really been Raanta and Kemper kind of saving them a little bit. But you're dead on about Raanta. There doesn't seem to be a lot of consistency there. Yeah, I'm into these Avs. We were on Nichushkin the other night. I don't know. I would imagine Nichushkin falls down the lineup and Rantanen was playing center. Had Nichushkin on the wing. They're just trying to get as much offense as they can without just apart from the 2 studs in Landeskog and Rantanen. So I don't take a lot of puck lines here, but I think Colorado. Matty, you're a puck line guy. I always call you out here for the puck line. You're going Colorado minus 1.5, aren't you? Or D12 Drew Livingstone, friend of the show, in your head?
No, I'm taking Colorado puck line. I don't think there's a lot Drew can say that'll deter me. The man is the captain of the fuck the Leafs train, so I'm okay with taking his team and being the bigger man right now and accepting that the Avs are better with Nathan McKinnon in the lineup, obviously, and minus 200. I'm not afraid of it for the money line, and I mean the puck line plus money. Yeah, give me that.
Yeah, if you're playing it season long, and I don't know, somebody asked me the other day what to do with McKinnon, and it took me back a little bit. I was like, what do you mean what to do?
People are going nuts, man. They're going great.
Maybe just check in on the McKinnon owner in your season long league to see if he's okay, if he's doing all right. I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's fine, but just you never know, right? Just check in on and see what's happening there. Shot props, Ranton is completely juiced now. The books have caught on. I think the 2.5 train, Maddie, is absolutely over. We ride it every single day. But again, FTNbets.com, prop shop, absolutely free. Parlay calculator, you get the best odds possible, absolutely free. You can type in Randon and see where you can get. DraftKings Sportsbooks has them right now at minus 200. That is a no-go for me. But, I mean, if you wanted to get involved with parlays, obviously you can help your odds a little bit. Clayton Keller, you guys want an under? Here's an under. He'll go over now. Clayton Keller, under 2.5, 7 of 9 games. He's gone under 3 shots. So that's the one for me. I did bring up Brown 2.5. So got one more game here. Montreal and Vancouver. The guys were laughing at me the other night for getting all excited about the Habs putting up a 7 spot on the Jets. Said it was fluky. It turned out it kind of was. They play the Canucks tonight, plus 130. This game's at midnight for me tonight on the far East Coast, so that's fun. Minus 152, the Habs, 11-13 against the spread, 14-15 against Vancouver. 6 is the total here. We were on the under at least, Matt. I don't know if we actually gave that play out, but we were giving some love to Thatcher Demko. I'm seeing Price turn the page a little bit, but this is the first of a back-to-back. I think they'll go Price. I'm just guessing here. They play the Flames tomorrow. It's possible they save Price, but Allen has been the better goalie all year, so I don't know if it really matters which guy goes against Calgary. It could be Allen, but I don't think it matters. I still like the under, but I'll let you go and talk about the Habs and the Canucks. And Thatcher Demko has really looked pretty good. He's turned the corner for them.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I think Montreal wins tonight because I think there's no way Calgary loses in Daryl Sutter's debut on Thursday. Sorry to say it, but it's true, and it's the back-to-back, right? So sure. I'm going to take Montreal money line tonight. I think it's going to be low scoring, whether it's Price or Jake Allen for that matter. You're right about Thatcher Demko. He's certainly evolving as the season goes on. I think ready to be that number 1 goaltender full-time here for the Vancouver Canucks. He's got a sub-2 ERA in the last 10 games. Like, he's on quite a heater. But again, it's Vancouver's going to have to flatline eventually with no Elias Pettersson, right? They've won 3 in a row, 2 against Toronto, 1 against Montreal. I just don't know where the offense. I already wondered about this team's depth when Pettersson was in the lineup. Never mind out of it. So I think at some point in time they're going to lose a game. I think there's a bounce back in store for Montreal tonight. I'm looking at Thomas Tatar, who's been relatively hot since Dominique Ducharme took over, and Jesperi Kotkaniemi starting to get a couple points lately. So I think there's some value in Montreal tonight, guys.
See, Matt, I'm not a big homer. Those are the 2 guys that was on the other night as well. I don't know about Tatar's shootout attempt. That was just pathetic. What are you doing? What is going on?
When your move between your legs is as fast as a speed of smell, you should probably pick a new one.
Oh, man, that pissed me off the other night. And yeah, they gave up the late goal. I thought they played a near perfect game. I mean, they weren't scoring, but the 5-on-5 plays, they got them right here. 58 shot attempts to 34. They outshot them. The scoring chances 30-20. The high danger chances were in their favor as well. I thought they played a great 5-on-5 game. They usually do play a decent 5-on-5 game. Special teams gets them. And overtime, you see they're 11-6-7 on the year. They've yet to win in overtime. They're completely lost when it comes to 3-on-3. They don't know who to put on the ice.
Philippe Danault.
My goodness, man. They started a couple games ago. It was, the first game, Charm was Danault, and I think it was Danault, Armia, and Petrie, and I was like, whoa, that's weird. And then the next time, I think he took a lot of heat for it, and then the next time he started Kotkaniemi, Byron, and Petrie. I'm like, well, I don't like that one either. And then last night, or the time when they played again on Monday, it was Danault again. And and his reasoning is they want to win the draw. He sees up against 3 forwards, want to win the draw and then make the change. I don't know. They need to make some adjustments when it comes to overtime. I've been telling people in FTN, and Nick, you hit Tampa last night.
Yeah.
In game, best hit Carolina. FTN subs hit Carolina too. I've been saying when Montreal goes to overtime, take the other team. I don't know how long the odds are not that great. It's overtime, but it's worked out. Anyways, I got to go back to the Habs too. But I'd like the under. I think the under is my favorite play there altogether. Toffoli, this is a one-shot prop. No surprise. Minus 162. It's a little juiced up, but 29 shots in 6 games against Vancouver. That's 4.8 shots per game, and he's averaging 3.5 on the season. So it's on that third line with Kotkaniemi and Josh Anderson, which you mentioned Kotkaniemi. That's why I like him too. He's got points in 4 of 6 back-to-back games since being on that line. Not bad. The Canucks get in? Do you think they find a way to get in?
Get on one to Owen Power contender division.
Yeah, do they make the playoffs?
No.
Is it Calgary? Do you like Calgary? Pete asked me this the other day when I joined him on NHL Network. Calgary or Montreal? Who do you think gets in?
Well, it's the process of elimination. Who gets out, right? Ottawa's out. Vancouver's out.
Vancouver's out.
I got my wonders on Edmonton still, guys. Find me a goalie. Maybe I consider it. I like Winnipeg getting in. I like Calgary getting in. I like Montreal getting in. So that's your question.
Oh, baby. I like it.
There you go. Wonder why you like it.
Not just that. I like the fact that, a lot of people just automatically assume. We talked about it earlier. McDavid and Draisaitl, phenomenal. But secondary scoring, defense. Clefbaum is a big loss for that team.
It is.
He's a guy that I like quite a bit. All right.
Maybe ask me in a month when the deadline comes. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right. It'll be interesting. The deadline's gonna be super interesting this year with the
or super boring.
And you're right. It probably has a better chance to be super boring, but hopefully not. Okay, let's talk DK. We'll get some plays. We've kind of talked about a few already, but Maddie made these special boards. McDavid 9-3 tonight on DraftKings against the Sens. They got Draisaitl over at wing tonight, which is he's playing wing, so they're all over it. McDavid 9-3, McKinnon 8-7, Rantanen 7-5, Nugent Hopkins 7, Kadri 6-3, Kopitar 6-1, Miller 5-6, Horvat 5-5, Suzuki 5-3, William Karlsson 5-1. So I think, my strategy tonight will be to spend up. I think there's enough value at wing, to get McDavid or go McKinnon. I know both of those guys are pretty pricey, but I think, if I'm going to choose between one of the two, it actually would be McKinnon for me, even though I liked McDavid up at the top. Do you agree?
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Again, I think we both agree that there's a bounce back coming for Colorado. I think, we're going to see an agitated Nathan McKinnon coming back to the lineup tonight, full steam ahead. And I think there's some value in Mikko Rantanen as well with the line mate effect there.
Yeah, I would agree. If you're looking for some value, Nick just brought up Kotkaniemi, but yeah, he's 3-4, as I mentioned, points in back-to-back 4 of 6. They're trying to find a way to get him going, and I think putting their highest goal scorers on his line has helped a bit. I'd like him to shoot the puck a bit more, but he is on that second power play unit, playing on the half board, so he's getting some shot attempts there as well. I wanted to throw Kopitar if you want to be maybe a little bit different. He's on a bit of a run too. I feel like this is a guy that gets slightly disrespected in fantasy.
Stud.
He's got 30 points in 24 games. He is an absolute stud. He enters tonight on a point streak as well. He's got 5 points in his last 2 games, and he's got a point in 5 straight hockey games. So I just think he's underpriced. Like if he's wearing a different logo on his jersey, has this kind of production. He's a 7K player. I know he's not a big volume shooter, but the 24 assists, whatever. I think he's a decent cash game play if you want to go that way as well.
For sure. Like I think you look at LA in general, every time they score a goal, it's either, Brown's in it, Doughty's in it, or Kopitar. And then Kempe got a hattie the other night, right? Like there's not many guys who are going to provide offense. I think Gabe Velarde's a sneaky look as well in his rookie campaign, I guess, with the LA Kings. But you're right. Like anywhere else, Kopitar would get some more eyeballs because he's had a phenomenal season right now.
Yeah, and every year in fantasy, and this too, covering fantasy at Sportsnet, it seems people make excuses for him every year. Just like, no, they don't want to draft him. He falls down draft boards. He comes like at least fifth, sixth round for a guy that in a full season. I think a couple of years ago he had like 90 points.
Yeah,
he was like a 7th round pick. It's like, come on, guys. Yeah. So 9 points over a 5-game streak. Don't be afraid of Anze Kopitar. Over at wing, Pacioretty up at the top of the board, 8-2, Draisaitl 8-1, Toffoli 7, Kachuk 6-9, Landeskog 6-2, Gallagher 6. Yeah. So keep an eye on Stone. He is 6-1. Connor Garland 5-9, Brock Besser 5-8, and then Brown 5-7. If you were to spend up, is anybody here appealing to you?
Yeah, I guess Tyler Toffoli because he owns the Vancouver Canucks. I want to know more about Mark Stone before I spend on
For
Max
sure.
Pacioretty. I just don't. I think there's a significant hit, as I mentioned earlier on. I know Chandler Stevenson's there. I know Tuck could be there, but not having Mark Stone, I think, is so crucial, and it really deteriorates in terms of the value for a lot of the guys and decreases the value big time. So I'm waiting on that, but. I think there's some substantial value in Tyler Toffoli, just given what he's done this season against Vancouver, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And he had a couple chances. He had the 4 shots, and there
Yeah.
3 of them were right in the slot, so he could have easily let him up again. Anderson's 5-5. Yeah, Tuck. Tuck was very chalky. He was very popular last time out. Of course, Stone didn't play, and he didn't do
Yeah.
anything. He played 21 minutes, but he's been on quite the run too, shooting the puck quite a bit. He's plus money 2.5 shots, which is interesting if there is no Mark Stone. He didn't get it last time, but I have no problem maybe going back if you want.
Hmm.
Raquel's 4-9. Again, he's underpriced, and people don't seem to be playing him. Even last night or Monday night, rather, when he had the 2 goals, his ownership was fairly low. Yamamoto 4-8, Tatar 4-7. There's a lot of value, Nick, in this 4 to 5K range for some of these guys. I mean, I don't think Kepe's going to get another hat trick. 4-3, probably be pretty popular there, but there's some value to be had there with some of those wingers. Like, you had the choice between maybe Yamamoto or Tatar. Where would you go there?
I would go Yamamoto. I think the sex appeal, if you will, of playing with McDavid and Draisaitl. I know it's not really power play wise, but 5-on-5, he's good for at least a point. I think there's pretty substantial value, quite frankly, in that type of play tonight. Whereas you look at Tatar against Vancouver, again, we prognosticate could be low scoring. And then you look at Edmonton and Ottawa. I mean, has the ability to be a 6-5 hockey game too with both those teams, right?
Yeah, great call. Raleigh Smith, 3-4 in there. I don't love this spot, but
Yeah.
he is a guy that is a contrarian that, as you alluded to earlier, it's only a matter of time. And then Zegras 3-1 in there as well. Over at D, Nurse 6-4 up at the top. Barry 6-3, Petrie 6-2, Pietrangelo, same sort of deal. Gonna have to keep an eye on things. 6-1, Shabbat 6, Weber 5-9, Chikrin's been a beast 5-8. Theodore is priced all the way down here. I'm not sure what's going on there. 5-7. Makar's not going to play. Doughty 5-5. Anybody here catch your eye?
Well, Theodore, right? At that
Yeah,
value, how do you not hit on that,
it's
right?
ridiculous.
He's an exceptional player. And again, maybe it's part and parcel to what odds makers think about the chances of Stone and Pietrangelo paying. You take those two out of the lineup, you wonder about the Vegas Golden Knights. But again, we're on the bounce back, so I think you look there, and I think you look at Shea Weber, some sneaky value coming off a disappointing night. Habs Twitter all over him. No shots on goal, I believe. So maybe I hit on Shea Weber too.
Yeah, Habs Twitter is all over him quite often. Yeah, Shea Theodore shouldn't be this cheap. And best he was, I'm looking now, he was, when you're making these boards, he was 6-6 just last week. What's going on? He's 5-9. He played 26 minutes the other night.
Yeah,
Maddie, you in on Theodore?
DraftKings did a lot of things with their pricing and positioning, because I was basically just going to copy over the boards from the last show because it's all the same games, but a bunch of centers are now wingers and a bunch of wingers are now centers. But yeah, I'm all in on Theodore. I think out of every play on this slate, Theodore will be my staple to just auto click him, whether it's in cash or in a GPP, and just throw him in there.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. Gerard 5-1 is getting a lot of ice time. He's a bit of a value in there. Looking for some more value at D. I mean, Doughty's been great 5-5, but looking for somebody a little bit cheaper. I've been saying Ryan Suter over Dumba. Suter's been on that first power play, eating up a lot of minutes. He had nearly 10 minutes of power play time over his past 3 games. Oliver Ekman-Larsson's on that second PP unit. Don't really love Zona tonight, but he is mispriced a bit for what he can do anyways. He's 4K. Cam Fowler's been decent lately, hitting the score sheet. He is 3-7, and then Shattenkirk is 3-4. Anybody else at D, really, Nick, that stands
I
out
think
to
my
you?
dude Zach Whitecloud
Oh, yeah.
calling
Good
it.
call.
Maybe he picks up a point. Who knows?
Man, he's good.
Yeah, sneaky
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, sneaky good. It's just Vegas has so much
Yeah.
talent. I think he had 18 seconds of power play time the other night, and I was like, I wish he'd get more, but then that
Yeah.
means less for Theodore and Pietrangelo.
So if Petro doesn't play, maybe you look at Whitecloud. I think there's some value in that.
Yeah, good call. What are we doing in net here? I never spend up like 8-3 for Mike Smith at the top. Sure, he could get the W, but it's not really
Mike
for
Smith.
me. Yeah, it's Grubauer 8-2, solid. Fleury 8-1, Price is 7-8. I thought, like, again, I'm not trying to be a homer here, guys, but it's 3 straight games now. He's at least had that save percentage above 9.6. That's positive. It's only at it's 0.903 on the year. He's been bad, but him and Allen 7.8, and Allen is 7.6. We were on Thatcher Demko. I don't know. Maybe we go back here. I mean, 7.3 is some nice value there. If you can get that save bonus and you're fine. What are you thinking in that tonight?
I'm with you on that. Like, I think the price could be right for Carey. That game in general, I don't know how much offense is going to come from it. And Price, I think, has looked much better. I know he hasn't even worked with Sean Burke yet, but Stephon Waite's gone. The last couple games, I think he's been more locked in. Had a great effort against Winnipeg, doubles that up. I know in a losing effort the other night, but I think there's some legit value in that, so I'm going to go with you.
All right, giddy up, Matt. We had some losers on Monday, I believe.
Yeah, so Monday was a little, it was
0 for 4, I think.
It was a little tough, yeah, 0 for 4. We won't dive into it. You're 70 for 112.
We could dive into it. I like it.
Okay, VGK, St. Louis, Montreal, LA. No. That's the nicest way to put it.
The Montreal one ticked me off too because I thought we should have had that one, and then LA came back, and I was like, "Ooh, maybe we get one right tonight," and that didn't work.
Yeah, 70 for 112. Your shot props, we started tracking them though. You gave out Zuccarello 1.5, Patches 3.5, Perron 2.5, and Brown 2.5. You got all of them except for Perron.
Yeah. The Blues were disappointing, as per usual. Nick, what do you make of the Blues? Like, they should be crushing the Sharks when they play them.
Yeah, just another team that's waiting for the playoffs. Like, I correlate that to the Maple Leafs. They're just waiting to get to the playoff, and they're really hurt, right? True. Like, half their team's out right now, and I think Torrey Krug has struggled to man that power play so far. I think it's tough to humanize the situation. Like, I'm not for one shocked that Alex Pietrangelo has struggled to start here in Vegas, and ditto for Torrey Krug in St. Louis. Especially, he spent all that time with the Boston Bruins. A lot of success there, and then you move over and have to fill the big time shoes, the big time skates, if you will, of Alex Pietrangelo. I think there's going to be sort of a time and period where he gets acclimated to his new surroundings, and I think it's part and parcel to all the injury concerns right now for the St. Louis Blues. It's good to have Vladimir Tarasenko back, but there's still guys like Jade Schwartz in that lineup. The list goes on and on and on. So I think I'm not making excuses for them, but I sort of chalk up St. Louis as a team I know is going to make the playoffs. They're just waiting for the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, I think it's another good call. It's nice to see Tarasenko back, and I'm waiting for Mike Hoffman to get comfortable in a Blues uniform as well. And, we've been saying that, Matt, all year, adjusting to life without Pietrangelo, right? That guy is an absolute beast. So there's been some holes a little bit on the blue line, and Binnington hasn't been all that great as well. So today we'll go with Vegas and the bounce back. Got to keep going. Anytime I see them with those kind of odds, I got to take them. Montreal and the under. I'll take Colorado on the puck line. For the shot props, just to recap, let's go back to Zuccarello here, guys. Why not? Plus money, 1.5, 4 straight, 6 of 8. He's done it. Pacioretty, 3.5. Dustin Brown, 2.5. Toffoli, 2.5. Map giving you a lot. And Brady Tkachuk, 3.5. There you go. If you're looking for an under, like I said, a lot of people, Nick, they always want unders. Why do you pick overs?
We like offense. That's
why. I like offense, man. Yeah. Under 2.5 for Clayton Keller, but that's for you if you want it.
I hate watching Arizona, man. They just they put me to sleep.
Yeah, it's tough. And I don't know who's on the broadcast, the color guy.
Tyson Nash?
Yes. He's intense.
The best. Those guys are awesome. Like, Biz does a great job out there. Bob Hitos and Matty McConnell. Yeah, they do an awesome job. You're right, though. I watch a lot of Yotes hockey.
I do too.
Yeah.
And Connor Garland was a guy we were taking early on in the year for shot props. Yeah. So we were watching a lot, and they were the broadcasts kept me hanging around. So I like that.
Still rattled about Philly K. Like, Phil Kessel, like one of my fantasy leagues. I had no choice. It was one of those weird weeks where that time where Tampa's game they weren't supposed to play, then they were plugged in there. I had to find a goalie start, so I had to dump somebody on my roster, and I had a full roster. I liked everybody. I dumped Phil Kessel, and ever since, I think he's got 9 points in 10 games. So.
Yeah, he's got 8 goals and he's got 17 points in 25 games.
Yeah,
he had 38 in 70 last year, right?
Yeah, like, he was a bounce back candidate
for sure.
To do this to me, it really, really hurts. I'll be honest. I cry every day.
Nick, fantastic, man. I appreciate you joining. I told you guys he's a great guest. Give him a follow at the Golden Muzzy. Check out all of his work over at the Fan 590. And if you follow him on Twitter, you won't regret it. So tweeting hockey all the
Mute
time.
me.
Nick, appreciate it, buddy.
No worries. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
And Maddie Best there as well. Thanks a lot. I'm Chris Meaney. Please rate, review, subscribe. Any questions, again, leave them in the YouTube section. Follow the link for the description for the code at prizepicks.com. Good luck on the ice tonight. We'll catch you on Friday. Cheers.